And finally, the final sort of like part 6 of this little mini series we've been on, and that is, how are we unstoppable? And I think this is probably the easiest one to solve yet. And what better way to conclude this whole little side adventure with a how? How does anything we've said so far actually make us unstoppable? Because we are all free. Some people may argue the semantics of what it really means to be free, but what we're talking about is being free up here, and you're all right. I think that's going to need a little bit of elaboration. So, you know how sometimes if you go onto, let's say, social media and you see videos saying you need to vote for this, or you need to believe in what we're showing you as that, and that you need to believe, hear every single thing we say and do, and don't question it. Whenever you see stuff like that, you have to, well, certainly one thing I do is automatically come to the innate conclusion, maybe more before anything else, that actually, who says I have to believe in what everyone says, tells, or asks me to do? Surprisingly enough, this is where the whole thing of freedom really comes into play, because I am allowed to completely think and decide and feel for myself. Nobody has the power or influence to tell me what to do, as if I have no choice but to obey. Of course I have a choice. Everybody has a choice. Much as a person has a choice not to rise to violence when somebody starts becoming a bit leery with somebody, or I have the choice to flatly deny when somebody straight up gives me an order with a passive-aggressive undertone to it. I am a free man. And when you sort of draw the same sort of conclusions as I do about what it really means to be free, not only free in sound body and mind, but intellectually, that you're free to investigate, make your own decisions, make your own mistakes, to be able to learn from your mistakes, and to continue to do as you please, all without real too much agitation or pardon, then all of a sudden you feel actually quite well for it. And it's a kind of euphoria that sometimes comes into my life every couple of years. And I don't know if it's from the sense of accomplishment, knowing that I've managed to do something completely on my own, something that nobody told me to go and do, nobody asked me to do, and sometimes people will say that there was no inherent or even monetizable reward at stake to win or lose from doing such a thing. When all of that is said and done, I still went ahead and did it anyway, because, as I said before, nobody can actually tell me what to do or can actually make me do something that I don't want to do. I am free. And free also means being unstoppable. Because if there is no force to stop you, then why not consider yourself unstoppable? And that is the sort of thing that I reckon is going to take me quite a number of places in this world. And guess what? Free doesn't even, or even unstoppable, does not necessarily mean to say that nobody can step in my way. On the contrary, there's actually quite a things I like to do for being unstoppable. I remember it was about 2 months ago when I was in London. One of the first things I did when I finally got into my hotel room in Hammersmith is that I went to get my hair cut. And so I went to this small little Turkish barber's just on the corner. And I remember I got into this really excitable conversation between myself and the barber. I asked him how long had he been in London. We had a really, really good back and forth, and it didn't even seem to matter that we stayed talking for about 40 minutes. Because, to be honest, I think he enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. Maybe he had a particularly slow day, and maybe he was pining for somebody to talk to. And you know what? I'm glad that this happened, because guess what? Being unstoppable means that I can be anybody that I choose to be. And there's also been something of a bit of a lapse, so to speak, in that sometimes I feel like I could have been more than what I currently am now. But I think all of that draws into what are you, or what is you, or who are you, or when are you, or what are you, etc., etc. And these are the sorts of things that do have to come into play, maybe in a slightly different video. But from what I can understand, at least from my own experience, is that there are some things I know are fundamentally wrong to do and wrong to be, but I also know for one reason or another, there are some things that I have never stopped being and continue to want to be, and hopefully I will become even better at what I am already. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But sometimes I think it does boil down to things I stated a few videos ago where I talked about take it back to perhaps maybe your early childhood. Take it back to perhaps a stage in which you were just learning to take notice of things. And what was the response when you put some of those things into practice? And what was the result of some things that you put into practice that may not have turned out to be quite for the best? This is a very pivotal sort of moment in my life, it would seem, because there's less than 18 months to go until I turn 30. I would have been on this earth for nearly 30 years, and I still think, even during this time, I have yet to really come out of my shell. I still think there's so much I have left to learn, and so much to do, and sometimes not enough time in the world to do it. But with that being said, those are just some of the things that make us unstoppable. And how are we going to become even more so? Never stop being yourself. Because nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can tell you not to be who you are. And nobody, especially me, can ever tell you that, guess what? There is anything inherently wrong with being happy. Because you are happiest when you can truly be yourself. And for me, being myself means being unstoppable, being myself. And with that being said, this is just the introduction to this channel. Now we've established what makes us, how, when, where, why, and how we are unstoppable. We've established almost the ground floor, the foundations, exactly the blueprint of everything that makes us, or certainly makes myself, want to become unstoppable. So that, at any rate, is the theory. The practice, however, is what is coming up next. Because now we've established a formula, now we have to establish the rule. And the rule is probably a little harder to put into words, but I will certainly find a way. Everyone has a way. And my way is to be unstoppable. One step at a time. But in the meantime, there is work to be done. Always more work. Thank you.